What a fantastic year we are having. Zelda, Hogwarts Legacy, Dead Space Remake, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Octopath Traveler 2, Street Fighter 6, and so much more. Honestly, I could go on and on listing all the great games released this year until you get bored of this video. And now it's Microsoft's turn with Starfield. At the time I generated this script, reviews have already come out and for the most part it seems the game is great. Maybe not groundbreaking, but seems to be a high-quality game. Honestly, even if they weren't absolutely ejaculating with praise, the physically palpable anticipation that Starfield has right now would be enough to sell the game and make Microsoft really happy. The game will sell and will be a success no matter what, so this video wasn't made to talk about that. This video is about a single sentence that Phil Spencer said recently, and I quote, "But we're not in a position, and I see out there, I see commentary, that if you just build great games everything would turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of the sudden you're going to see console shares shift in some dramatic way." And he is right. Hold on. Before you close this video and go elsewhere because you think I'm talking nonsense, hear my reasoning. When people heard him speak about this, they jumped to the seemingly obvious conclusion in front of them, that either Phil doesn't believe that games are that important in selling a system or a service and that the onus lies elsewhere, or that he thinks that Xbox can't make good games as well as Nintendo or Sony does. But I don't think that's quite it. I mean, thinking that games don't sell gaming consoles is stupid. That's the whole premise of the business itself. If you watch the entire interview where he said that phrase, the phrase gains a lot more nuance and makes a lot more sense. Given the context of the current situation that the Xbox is as a brand in general, what Phil actually meant with what he said is that a few great games won't suddenly turn things around, at the snap of one's fingers. While a single great game can make a difference short-term, it won't drive engagement long-term by itself. What you need to have long-term success is to build a reputation. A reputation that your company provides great products on a regular basis, so that when you invest into our ecosystem, on a market that is not exactly cheap, you will get your money's worth. Especially when you have competition that has more history on that market and is simply doing a better job than we are at the moment. And that takes a long time. And the opposite of that is what happened so far. The Xbox One generation was an absolute catastrophe. The launch was poorly mishandled and might have crippled the generation right then and there for Microsoft, but it was also Microsoft's own catalog of software that left a lot to be desired. Established franchises like Halo and Gears of War were starting to feel stale, and even until this day Microsoft failed to rejuvenate their legacy IPs. More worrisome than that, their catalog of games weren't nearly as diverse as Nintendo or Sony, giving the feeling that if you only game on Xbox, you are missing out on quite a lot of games. Especially recently, as many Japanese companies have been seeing a renaissance of sorts and becoming more popular than ever, and those types of games being the ones that have usually skipped Xbox systems. And not everyone can own all three systems. So without a promising future, with the current lineup not being exactly impressive, compared to the competitors, and with consoles becoming more and more like ecosystems where you build a history and your own personal catalog of games inside it that would be thrown away if you gave up on it, Microsoft is left in a bad position that there is very little they can do to remedy the situation in the near future as they currently are, or with these past few years. And that's the situation Microsoft finds themselves in today. Why do you think they are buying companies left and right? They have acknowledged they can't fix those problems on their own, at least in a reasonable time frame, so they are taking a different approach to it, which is basically brute forcing a resolution for these problems. By acquiring more IPs, they wish to resolve the problem of having little diversity in the amount of genres their first-party games partake in. By acquiring more teams, they hope to fix their quality issues, by basically buying the talents inside these teams, and hoping they don't leave after being acquired. This is also their strategy on rejuvenating their old IPs, as these new human beings might bring fresh perspectives and fresh ideas. So with the context around Starfield release being given, what all of this has to do about the game itself? Well, This was all said to show that Starfield by itself won't move the needle all that much for Xbox as a brand. Do you really think that after all these years, which has been a decade by now since the Xbox 360 was replaced, that one single game, no matter how good it is, will make all this hostility towards the brand disappear? That gamers will now have faith that, if they spend $400 to $500 to $600 on an Xbox system, they will not regret the purchase down the line? Or that it will provide a better experience than Nintendo and Sony is currently offering? No, of course not. Ecosystems, such as consoles, are purchased based on the promise of its future, or in the proposition of the value it has. Even with Starfield, Xbox consoles, or even Game Pass still, doesn't have that. What Starfield is, and what I hopefully Microsoft agrees with me, is that it is a conversation starter. It is a game to get people to pay attention to Xbox again. A bait, in a way, so that people start taking the brand seriously again. But Starfield by itself won't be enough to keep people engaged. After all, it's only a game and Microsoft needs hundreds of millions of people constantly engaged to keep the Xbox system and Game Pass brands alive. So what does Microsoft need to do to keep the ball running? Simple. Do what Nintendo did with the Switch. Looking back, people like to give credit to the Switch's success to two things, to its hybrid nature and Breath of the Wild being a launch title. But that's just half of the truth. Yes, being both a home and handheld console in one helped sell the Switch. Yes, Zelda being a launch title got the ball rolling and was immensely important to the launch period. But just those two wouldn't sustain the kind of success the console is seeing today, or that it saw in the launch year. What was most important for the Switch is what Microsoft needs right now, a constant and reliable stream of high-quality first-party games that addresses multiple niches, multiple genres. The promising future that the Switch's first-year lineup showed and implied, coupled with Nintendo's stellar reputation for making great games, is what made the Switch what it is. For as good as Zelda was, they knew that a Mario Kart was soon right around the corner to fill their racing needs, or that there would be soon a big RPG game in the form of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, or that their Christmas game was covered by a new mainline 3D Mario. And they knew Nintendo would deliver the goods, because it was Nintendo. Thanks to these two factors, people who bought the system early knew that, with a Nintendo investing so much on a great first-year lineup, there was little chance that their investment on the system would go to waste, and that it wouldn't be another Wii U, which was a barren wasteland in terms of games. And that is what Microsoft needs to do right now if they are to stand a chance in reviving the brand, or to just have a profitable gaming division. Use Starfield as their headliner, drawing attention to their consoles and services with that big shinny game, but actually hooking people up and making them take the leap with an actually promising future, a constant stream of games releasing in a timely manner. And what that future would look like. Fable, Avowed, Perfect Dark, Hellblade 2, Indiana Jones, a new Doom game, a new Wolfenstein game, The Outer Worlds 2, Contraband, and so on. Have a steady, reliable release schedule that every 3 or 4 months Xbox owners or Game Pass subscribers get a new, big or biggish first-party game from Microsoft. That will create confidence in customers, and make them believe that what happened for the last 3 or 4 years of barely no games from Microsoft won't happen again. The only other thing they need to make sure is that the games they release are of high quality. But that's another discussion altogether. Will Microsoft be able to do that? Matt Booty, head of Xbox Game Studios, seems to understand the need to have a tangible lineup to gain customer trust in the service and its products, as he said that starting 2024 Xbox would release a minimum of 4 games every year. And I mean, they did buy a lot of studios that haven't released any games yet, so it makes sense. Will Microsoft stick the landing? Only time will tell.